Welcome to the Business Miracles Podcast. I'm Heather Dominick, founder of businessmiracles.com. Since 2010, I've been training highly sensitive entrepreneurs and leaders from around the globe to work less while making more impact and income by doing things differently. I'm so glad you've joined me. Listen in and get ready for a shift in the way you view yourself, your work, your life. A business miracle. This is A Course in Business Miracles, episode 113, Deliberate Intuition. Listen in while I share about this unique approach to using your highly sensitive strength of intuition in order to support you with being able to innovate, courageously speak up, and therefore lead yourself and others through this post-pandemic world. Deliberate intuition, how to use your intuition with decisions, discernment, and determining. So first of all, what is intuition and why does this have a part in highly sensitive leadership? So Webster English Dictionary, official definition for intuition. Definition A, the power or faculty of attaining to direct knowledge or cognition without evident rational thought and inference. Definition B, immediate apprehension or cognition. Again, immediate apprehension or cognition. And definition C, knowledge or conviction gained by intuition. And again, knowledge or conviction gained by intuition. Also, according to Webster's Dictionary, synonyms, meaning like words for intuition, are instinct, intuitiveness, sixth sense, divination, clairvoyance, second sight, ESP. Standing for extrasensory perception. And then my favorite from Webster Dictionary, the antonym or opposite of intuition. One word only, intellect. So again, antonym, opposite, one word only, intellect. Take a breath in and let it out. So it's very interesting to me about this official definition of intuition is there are many references to knowledge, cognition, thought, conviction, also references to divination, the divine, or again, a second sight, but no connection or reference to feeling, except for the slight connection via ESP, extrasensory perception, but the sensory is even just being used to reference perception. So why is that important? What's valuable about that, as we have spoken about in previous trainings, is how for highly sensitives, there can be this conundrum between what is my intuition and what is fear. Where fear is a feeling and intuition is a knowing. And we experience those aspects of our human being nature very differently. So though Webster Dictionary very clearly states intuition is not intellect, it is a working of knowledge, a sensory knowing. Let's take a breath in and let it out. So why is this important as a highly sensitive leader, and especially as a highly sensitive leader during these exceptional times? Again, as we've spoken about many times in many different ways via various trainings, for those of us who are highly sensitive, the wiring of our nervous system positions us to take in stimulation at a much higher degree than someone who is not highly sensitive. When that ability, and you can think of it almost like an antenna, right? Our nervous system is like an antenna. It can be used to take in stimulation and then interpret it negatively, which puts us in our shadows. Or it can take in stimulation and interpret it positively, which is our strengths. When we take in stimulation, we have access to one particular strength, which is our intuition. So it's as if stimulation registers within the nervous system, and you can think of it again like the vagus nerve. And as I've used in the past, Dan Siegel's model of the brain, fist model of the brain, we have the vagus nerve, which connects with the brain, which gives us access to the amygdala, which is a creative solution, or again, our strength aspect as highly sensitives. When we're operating from our shadow side, our lid is flipped. We don't have access to the amygdala, and we're operating from the limbic only, which is fight, flight, freeze, fear. So the system needs to be calm and needs to be proactively managed. That's through energy management, to be able to access deliberately use of our intuition, among other strengths. It gives us access to a knowing that goes beyond the intellect. Now, why is this challenging? It's challenging because it is a way of operating that is opposite to the other 80%. The way the non-highly sensitive operates. And especially before these exceptional times, that was the primary way of operating. The more intellectual you are or were as a person, then the quote unquote like higher status you held. A lot of credit and credibility is given to intellect. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to highlight and emphasize this is not an either or. We're not talking either you're intellectual or either you're intuitive. We're simply bringing to light the ability for intuition to be accessed and credited as a source of knowledge just as much as intellect. So again, why is this important as a highly sensitive leader? And why is it important during these exceptional times? As we've been talking about through these exceptional times, everything is changing. There is a disruption that we are in the middle of. And as I've shared, disruption doesn't necessarily mean destruction. What it means is poised opportunity for transformation. So our intuition is available to guide us as we chart our way through these exceptional times, being willing to operate differently in our work and in our lives. And here's the real key: not needing approval to do so. Write that down. Not needing approval to do so. As you've also heard me teach through these exceptional times, we've got 3 categories of ways that people are responding. They're in denial, they're innovating, or they're victimizing. We are here to be innovators, and it is your intuition that will lead the way for you into innovation. Those in denial are going to look for things to go back to how they were. If you are looking for permission and approval of how your intuition guides you, then you are looking to that category of denial. Or another way that you can look at it is you're trying to straddle yourself between denial and innovation. By accessing your intuition and trusting how it is here to guide you, that will lead you to out-of-the-box ideas. It will lead you to creative solutions, and it will have you on a path that looks very different than your path looked before this exceptional time and how your path is meant to look beyond these exceptional times. Therefore, it will look different than your ancestors who have walked before you, those who have passed, and those who are currently still living. It will look different than your colleagues who surround you. It will look different than your neighbors. And that doesn't mean that it's wrong. Write that down. So knowing if you are on course will not come from looking around you at what everyone else is doing and seeing if you compare or quote unquote measure up. It will come from internal. Fear is contracting and it's unsettling. It is there to protect you from being eaten by a bear. That is its primary purpose, or anything equivalent to. Intuition is expansive. It feels exciting, which can be equated with nervous, simply because it will often lead you into an unknown, which again doesn't mean or equal bad or dangerous, simply different and unknown. And again, in these exceptional times, through and beyond these exceptional times, we are all in the unknown. So for you, as someone who has more access or readily access to your intuition, you then are poised and positioned to lead someone or others who do not have such immediate access to their intuition. And especially for those of you who have entered and been in the training process with me for quite a while, although we are thrilled and welcome those who are beginning their training process and journey. But those of you who have been at this a while, you know that every time you use an energy management tool, that is you strengthening and honing how you use your nervous system as an antenna for the positive to access strengths. Therefore, it is you honing and strengthening your intuition. That is how you know that you can trust it. Now, again, the challenge will be if you default to the old ways of operating, which is to look outside for validation and to look to the other 80% for permission. A way that you can bring that default into more of a present action is the minute that you start to question your intuition or someone else questions your intuition. Someone might say to you, well, how do you know? Why are you doing that? What's your reason? What proof do you have? What are the facts? Your response, whether to another or to yourself, is, and you'll want to write this down, I just know. I just know. And then the next moment will be about what teacher and Buddhist monk Pema Chodron refers to as discomfort resilience. Because again, whether you're pushed by someone else or by your own self through external or internal questioning, well, how do you know? How do you know? The challenge will be to stay in that space of I just know. And at that moment, you will be able to recognize and register the difference. If it is an intellectual thought or if it is an intuitive knowing. I don't know if you can see me. Intellectual thought versus intuitive knowing. Because the intellectual thought, when you are pushed on an intellectual knowing, the brain will start to move. It will start to work and try to access the answer, to be able to obtain the fact. You'll feel it in an overheated way. The knowing will register here in the heart, and you can't necessarily see this, but in the core. And so that's why in the activation, and often in activations, I support you in releasing the overworking of the monkey mind to drop down into that deeper intuitive knowing. So you'll be able to recognize that. Well, how do you know? And if you start to go like, how do I know? Then you're right into the intellect versus here, I just know. I know. Take a breath in and let it out. The more that you enter into this as a deliberate practice, then the more your intuition is available to you as a deliberate tool. When it comes to making decisions, when it comes to discerning, and when it comes to determining. And again, it doesn't mean that the intellect isn't valuable and doesn't have its place. The opportunity that we have through these exceptional times and as highly sensitive leaders is to have an equal positioning for both. And you will be challenged. As we can see by especially the events of racial unrest that have been transpiring, and rightly so, disruption. And there are those who do not want the change that these times so rightly bring to us. And those who are in the denial category will fight and resist the change. But this is the time more than ever that you don't remain quiet in order to remain light. This is not the time to remain quiet in order to reduce conflict. This is the time to speak, and it is the time to lead from your intuition. What you know to be true from a place of value and from a place of strength. Thank you for being a part of this Business Miracles podcast episode and for beginning to dip your toe into the journey of highly sensitive leadership training. If you are ready to truly use your sensitivities as strengths in all parts of your work and life, I invite you to connect for a one-on-one chat. You will experience being deeply listened to, and together we'll get a sense of whether the highly sensitive leadership training programs are the best next step for you and your highly sensitive journey at this time. Just go to www.claritycall.com to schedule a conversation. We so look forward to connecting with you. Talk to you soon.